All right, everybody is excited, and that's good. So my name is Joe Goldstein from UT Southwestern, and it's my special privilege to welcome all of you to this celebratory dinner that honors this year's O'Donnell awardees. And as I was listening this morning to the presentations, I decided that TAMEST is no longer the tamest organization in the world. We are maturing into a peppy and feisty enterprise. But we should not rest on our laurels. Our continued success will depend on our future presidents and their program committees to make sure that all of the science talks and the keynote addresses are exciting and so good that every one of us in this room will want to come back every year, and also everyone who's not here will also want to come back. So I'd now would want to offer my special thanks to everyone who made this event possible, Senator Hutchinson, who will be here tomorrow, Beth Henderson and her staff, President Figueroa and his program committee, the O'Donnell Foundation, and all the corporate sponsors that are listed in the program booklet. So it's now time to enjoy your dinner, and I will be back in exactly 30 minutes, eat fast, to make a few comments about the sociology of awards and prizes, and then we'll have our second dessert, which will be the presentation of the O'Donnell Awards. Enjoy your dinner. So what I would suggest that you all hold your applause, but all these dignitaries, please stand. The past TAMEST presidents, Tom Caskey, the George Washington of our organization, please stand. Don Paul, actually, no one can see it. Don't applause, just Dan Foster. Now, thank you for the lights. David Daniel. David. So we have 4 past presidents and then presidents of chancellors of the UT system. Bobby Alford, Baylor. David Callender, Galveston. Francisco Figueroa. He's the real guy. Nancy Dickey, Texas A&M. Peter Florin, UT Austin. Peter. William Hendrick, San Antonio. Larry Kaiser, Houston. David Lebron, Rice. And Ted Mitchell, Texas Tech. And Ricardo Romo, San Antonio. And James Spaniolo, Arlington. And Robert Nelson, Pan American. And now the members of our industry and community affiliates whom have been provided great support for this organization. Ernie Cockrell. Ernie, where are you? I saw you earlier today, but I don't see you now. Kenny Jastro. Kenny. Sarah Ortwine. Kurt Swager. James Trucard. And James Vaughn, he's right here, UT, formerly UT Southwestern, now separate. He controls all the money in Texas now. Russell Hulse, UT Dallas, and David Lee, Texas A&M, and then Hans Deisenhofer, UT Dallas, right here. Okay, now we can give an applause to all these guys. So in the next 5 or 6 minutes before the presentation, let me make a few comments about awards in general. The O'Donnell Awards have been given for the last 6 years, and as compared to Nobel Prizes, which have been given for the last 110 years. So both of these awards turn out to be newcomers to the prize enterprise. The mother of all prizes, scientific as well as non-scientific, is the gold medal of the Royal Astronomical Society of London. And this prize was first given in 1824 and has been given continuously for the last 185 years. And Einstein won it in 1926, and in more recent times, the prize has gone to the 3 H's of modern astronomy, Hubble, Hoyle, and Hawking. And the first recipient of the Royal Astronomical Society's gold medal was a man named Charles Babbage, one of the most creative individuals who ever lived. At age 22, Babbage was appointed the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics at Cambridge, Isaac Newton's chair. And Babbage received the gold medal from the Astronomical Society at age 33 for producing the first accurate logarithmic tables that were used by all astronomers. And he was also cited for conceptualizing the modern postage system and for conceiving the first actuarial tables, which led to the first insurance companies. Not bad, even for a 33-year-old polymathic mathematician. Unlike many scientists who achieve success at an early age, Babbage refused to rust on his laurels. Over the next 50 years, he invented the speedometer, pioneered the art of picking locks, and designed multiple mathematical machines for making complex calculations and breaking codes. In 1888, he configured the first programmable computer consisting of a memory unit, a processing unit, and punch cards for giving instructions. And Babbage's now famous difference machine, the forerunner of the modern computer, was reconstructed in 1991 from his original plans and is now on display in the Science Museum in London. And I recommend that if you're in London and inclined to go to the Science Museum, take a look. It's fascinating. Historians of science accord Babbage the distinction of being the grandfather of the computer. And I would also accord him the distinction of being the mother of all award recipients. To award the first prize in history to someone with the stature of Charles Babbage sets a high standard for all prize-giving institutions, sending the clear message that the ultimate prestige of a prize is determined by how well the accomplishments of its recipients stand the test of time. Over the last 40 years, prize giving has become a major growth industry throughout the world. In 1979, the number of prizes given in all fields of human endeavor, not just scientific, was just over 2,000. Today, the number has increased to 23,000, covering everything from A to Z, archery to zymology. Prizes in zymology are given for the best home-brewed beer. Of the 24,000 prizes given today, more than 2,000 celebrate the biomedical and chemical sciences, and many of these come with a large honorarium, 25 with honoraria over $250,000, and 10 with honoraria over $1 million. So awarding scientific prizes is not only a growth industry, but a competitive business. Figuring out who did what and when they did it can become a frustrating and paralyzing exercise in ambiguity. So it's not surprising that final decisions of selection committees often elicit angry responses from the spurned scientists and snide comments from the scientific community. Even in those rare situations in which there is no ambiguity in pinning down who made the key discovery, selection committees are still faced with the judgmental challenge of deciding whether discovery A is more important than discovery B or C. As Niels Bohr once said in explaining his theory of quantum complementarity, when you bow down to one person, you stick your rear end in the face of another person. So every prize has its price. And this brings me to one of the best insights into the price of prizes, which comes from the German artist Martin Kippenberger. Could I have the first slide, please? In the 1980s and 90s, Kippenberger produced 2 series of paintings that exploit the double meaning of the German word Preis, which can be translated in English as either prize or price, depending on the context. In each painting, Kippenberger emblazoned a variation of the word Preis in flat, dark letters across a colorful, abstract grid of checks and plaids. In his first series of 17 paintings, Kippenberger titled the works to suggest awards and hierarchy, like 1 priest, 2 priests, 3 priests, and so on to 17 priests. Most critics call these works the prize paintings, but a few caught the irony and call them the price paintings, raising the question as to how one distinguishes a high-priced painting from a low-priced one. Is the painting with an emblazoned 1 really more valuable than the painting with a 17? In his second series, Kippenberger turned the tables and came up with titles that are more suggestive of price than prize. Is this half price or half a prize? And then preisgünstig, budget price or a cheap prize with a small honorarium. And then prelos, priceless or prizeless. And those of us who serve on prize selection committees are all too familiar with the occasional moment when a priceless comment from a jury member can create a prizeless situation for a nominee. All of us are also familiar with examples of priceless research that has gone prizeless. Every prize is or should be a surprise, just as in the laboratory when things that we are not looking for pop up unexpectedly. And the impact of a scientific discovery is directly related to the surprise that it provokes. The ability to recognize the surprise observation, act on it, and turn it into a discovery is the one characteristic that is shared by scientists who receive Nobel Prizes and O'Donnell Awards. Even though O'Donnell Awards are in their infancy, all of its awards so far have honored research that is priceless and prizeworthy. Even though, with apologies to Kippenberger, there is no single German word that I could find for such double praise. It is now my great pleasure to turn the podium over to our esteemed president and my ultimate boss, Chancellor Francisco Figueroa, who will tell you about the surprise discoveries of this year's O'Donnell winners. While he's coming up, let me just say, every time I say Figueroa, my brain thinks Figaro, Mozart's famous operatic character. And like Mozart's Figaro, Texas's Figaro is a larger-than-life character, blessed with savvy, ingenuity, boldness, and good humor. We are indeed lucky to have him as our boss. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe, for that kind introduction and for your contributions to TAMEST and our great state and our nation. I have the distinct honor this evening of recognizing this year's recipients of the Edith and the Peter O'Donnell Awards. The annual awards are designated to rising researchers in the state who are addressing the role that science and technology play in society, and whose work meets the highest standards of exemplary professional performance, creativity, and resourcefulness. Each award includes a $25,000 honorarium and an invitation to be present at the TAMEST annual conference. Priceless. On behalf of TAMEST, I would like to express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to the many, many donors to the O'Donnell Endowment who are recognized in our dinner program. But also, we must also recognize, despite their absence, the very special individuals, Peter and Edith O'Donnell, for their tremendous generosity and support for the awards, and also for advancing math and science education all across Texas. These are two heroes, two incredible people in this state who have made a magnificent difference across our universities, not only in Texas, but across the nation. There's absolutely no doubt that through their visionary leadership and philanthropy, both Edith and Peter have inspired thousands of students and teachers to take a renewed interest in the natural sciences, in computer science and engineering, mathematics, biology, medicine, all of the STEM disciplines. It is because of support like this that Texas remains on solid ground in its quest to become a worldwide leader in scientific research and innovation, and also to keep its competitive edge in an increasingly technology-based marketplace. And with that, I would like to show you a video tribute regarding the recipients of this year's O'Donnell awardees. So, Beth, if we can show the video, please.
Investigating, illuminating, and inspiring. Texas is home to some of the world's brightest innovators. Tonight, the Academy of Medicine, Engineering, and Science of Texas honors 5 up-and-coming researchers with the 2011 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards. Margaret Goodell, Medicine.
So is this for the gel for the PCR?
Yes, this is for the PCR.
For Margaret Goodell, every day in her lab could bring a life-saving discovery.
It'll be very exciting to see these results.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Peggy is a pioneer in the study of bone marrow stem cells, those amazing cells that regenerate themselves and rejuvenate aging tissues. She's the director of the Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine, or STAR Center, at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston.
Anything that we understand or about stem cells, or anything that we discover that can allow us to manipulate stem cells, has the potential to impact all different kinds of blood diseases.
Peggy was born in Ohio into a scientific family. Her father was an engineer and her mother a nature lover. Also motivating Peggy was her grandmother.
She thought maybe science would be an interest of mine, and so she started sending me books on how to dissect frogs, which I did in the backyard.
Years later, Peggy would travel to Connecticut and London to earn her bachelor's degree in biology. She received her PhD from Cambridge. For her postdoctoral work, Peggy chose a new field that was showing lots of promise: bone marrow stem cells.
The idea was that if we could take out the stem cells of the bone marrow and modify them, we could put them back into patients and treat blood diseases.
It didn't take her long to make an impact. In 1996, she developed a process for harvesting high-quality populations of stem cells for research, an innovation that's still used today. The next year, she came to Baylor College of Medicine to open her lab. The breakthroughs continued. Peggy and her team discovered bone marrow stem cells play an important role in our immune system.
This allows replacement of all of the components that you need and allows for a very healthy immune response.
Now, her team is trying to understand that role and whether the failure of those stem cells could cause diseases like leukemia and lymphomas.
Those are the colonies.
Colonies look bigger here.
Stem cell research is still a new frontier, and Peggy makes sure her team upholds the highest scientific standards.
Her work in bone marrow stem cells has been very cautious and very highly respected.
When some scientists speculated that stem cells hold a fountain of youth because of their ability to regenerate tissues, Peggy's team investigated. They discovered that bone marrow stem cells also experience the effects of aging.
We still hope that if we can understand how they age, that we might at least be able to slow their aging process down.
Peggy Goodell has become known as a leader in her field, and that is helping to establish Baylor as a top research institution.
Someone like Peggy, for me, is Baylor's star in the stem cell area. She's growing a team in the stem cell area, not only her own research program, but other faculty members that she's helped to recruit.
For Peggy Goodell, it's not as much about personal gain as it is gaining an edge against maladies like sickle cell anemia and AIDS.
We are constantly aware of the potential impact that our work can have on areas of medicine. And that's very exciting and motivates our work.
J.C. Chow, Engineering.
Electromagnetic wave have to go through all the ribs and tissues.
Dr. J.C. Chow is describing an electronic device designed to be implanted in the human body. It's not science fiction. It's actually a new wave of medicine being developed today in his lab at UT Arlington. JC hopes these devices will one day help make diseases and chronic pain more bearable.
Engineer can bring a solution to the medicine in a total different perspective.
Drawing from his expertise in electrical engineering and a knack for listening to medical doctors, JC is seeking out new approaches to treating old health problems.
His collaborative nature is really important in helping him learn and understand where important problems are. And then he's able and creative enough to take his own discoveries and to make them useful.
JC grew up in Taiwan as the son of an electrical engineer. He earned degrees in electrical engineering at Taiwan University and at Caltech. After college, JC found work at various corporate labs. He soon realized he'd rather spend his time solving the problems of mankind than worrying about profits. That's what led him to UT Arlington in 2002.
Every time the acid or non-acid liquid flush through the esophagus, the impedance sensor will detect it.
At UTA, JC and his students are developing a radio frequency sensor that, when implanted in the esophagus, can detect whether drugs are effectively treating severe acid reflux that can lead to cancer. The sensor works without batteries or wires.
And we also have the device that's embedded in the stomach that can provide electrical current to stimulate the stomach tissue.
There's even a batteryless strain sensor that can detect esophagus wall pressure or bladder volume. JC's team is collaborating with another professor to develop sensors called neurostimulators. They're designed to detect pain signals and then block them by transmitting electrical signals into neurons,
which is much more efficient with much less side effect than conventional way like morphine.
In yet another part of JC's lab, they're working on a microfluidic platform that shows how prostate cancer cells move and grow.
You see, this cell is moving in two different directions. Yeah.
While many of his devices are in development or trial phases, JC already has group members in the clean room at UTA, developing mass production processes in anticipation of future FDA approval. And JC looks forward to those approvals. As a lifelong diabetic, he knows the pain and discomfort disease can cause.
I feel very happy whenever we have some research result that can go into clinical use. I feel a personal accomplishment knowing I help a lot of people.
Kim Orth, Science.
So now you're going to try to do it without centrifuging and just see what happens when they infect.
Yeah.
Dr. Kim Orth's interest in bacteria is infectious. She and her students at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas spend countless hours studying the germ.
It excites me that we can discover new things by studying bacteria because they figured it out so long ago.
What they figured out was how to manipulate the signaling system in our cells, the system that triggers our disease-fighting defenses.
They basically hit the Achilles heel in a signaling pathway, and they can shut the whole pathway down.
Kim believes if we can learn to manipulate cells the way bacteria do, the possibilities could be enormous. A native of Plano, Texas, Kim had no real interest in biochemistry until college. She took a class at Texas A&M on molecular genetics, and the professor ignited a spark.
I always learned biology and chemistry and genetics. And he took them all and he melded them all together. And I thought, this is amazing.
Kim earned her bachelor's degree in biochemistry, then her master's from UCLA and her PhD from UT Southwestern. Kim was working on her postdoc at the University of Michigan when she made an amazing discovery. She found that the bacteria that cause bubonic plague spread by sending what she describes as targeted missiles into cells. Those so-called missiles prevent proteins in the cells from sending out signals for help. Kim compares it to taking control of the light switches in a house.
So the bacteria turns off all the switches so that the cell can't change shape and can't engulf the bacteria, right? And so we figure out what those switches are. And in doing so, we figured out new switches.
Those new switches represent previously unknown ways in which our cells work. Impressed by her discovery, administrators at UT Southwestern asked Kim to open a lab on their Dallas campus to continue focusing on her promising research.
She's laying the groundwork for our understanding of how bacteria cause disease. That understanding is essential for the eventual development of therapeutics, treatment of a number of diseases caused by bacterial infections.
They shouldn't be able to bind because they'll take off the fibronectin.
The breakthroughs have continued. For instance, Kim and her researchers have discovered how bacteria in shellfish destroy cells in the human body.
I think Kim's work is pioneering and creative. She's used a multidisciplinary approach that's included biochemistry, cell biology, structural biology, and infectious disease. And she has opened up a whole new area of our understanding of bacterial pathogenesis. And her work has brought enormous attention to our institution.
Kim believes she couldn't be working in a better place.
There's so many experts on so many parts of the cell that you can have wonderful collaborations with many different scientists. What's really important right now is that we keep investing in basic research, because if we don't, then we won't be able to make the tools for medicine later. I feel so lucky that I've been supported by people in order to do this basic research.
David Fuller and Duncan Hudson, Technology Innovation.
If that's the case, then if you take this path, which we can connect today.
Duncan Hudson and David Fuller are creating more uses for LabVIEW, the flagship product for Austin-based National Instruments. Their work is a big reason why LabVIEW is the most widely used graphical programming language in the world. They have ensured the same paradigm can be used for applications for kindergartners and rocket scientists.
This is the most work, next-gen runtime.
David and Duncan's leadership and vision are helping engineers and scientists design, prototype, and deploy their innovations more efficiently. Rather than taking time to map out their programs with lines of text, LabVIEW users connect icons and arrows to resemble a flowchart. David and Duncan designed the software to match the way programmers think.
Part of the magic of LabVIEW, I think, has always been that it fits usually the mental model of the engineer.
With David and Duncan leading the entire global research and development teams, LabVIEW became more versatile. Its graphical programming could be used for the deployment of software embedded onto chips, also for communications design.
We're really trying to create a language by computer scientists for non-computer scientists.
Their love for science started early. Like most boys, David enjoyed computer games, but not just playing them, also programming them.
By the time I actually entered college at Texas A&M, I had a pretty strong background in both the math, the logic, and a history of computer architectures.
As a boy, Duncan Hudson had dreams of winning a Nobel Prize for chemistry. But at UT Austin, he chose computers over chemicals. Duncan and David both wanted to use their programming expertise to make a difference in the world. That's why they came to National Instruments in '92 and '95.
The potential that I saw in LabVIEW, and actually what could already be done, was steps ahead of the cutting edge, I thought, research that I was doing at the university.
The software is used to develop medical innovations, create industrial robots, and even control the CERN-Hadron Collider.
Seeing applications, some of them are just mind-boggling. Thought-controlled wheelchair invented at University of Illinois.
A car for the blind from Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
We're not the expert that knows how to measure carbon emissions in the rainforest, but we enable that guy. And it's their community and their IP that is truly making the world a better place, and we're just making that happen faster.
Duncan and David's teams have developed software add-ons, modules, and toolkits, so the software can be used by scientists and engineers in different disciplines working at more than 30,000 companies.
Both David and Duncan have very good technical skills. When you combine that with their ability to lead people, makes them very effective as leaders for our LabVIEW project.
David and Duncan also led the way as NI developed Lego robotics software for kindergarten through high school to train the next generation of LabVIEW users.
When LabVIEW and NI are positively impacting the education and career of every engineer and scientist on the planet, that would be, to me, the ultimate end goal. It's ridiculously audacious. That's what we're aimed at.
Congratulations to all of this year's winners of the Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards.
I really think we've got some fantastic awardees tonight. It's just fantastic to capture a glimpse of the work that they're doing through this video tribute. I do want to take an opportunity to also thank the O'Donnell Awards Committee for their tremendous work in selecting these recipients. Let's give them a big applause. Well, now on to the awards presentation. Each recipient will be introduced by an esteemed colleague who has a unique understanding of their research contributions. And if I may ask those individuals who will be introducing our O'Donnell awardees to come up to the podium. Dr. Art Baudet from Bader College of Medicine will introduce Dr. Margaret Goodell. Dr. Ron Elsenbaumer from the University of Texas at Arlington will introduce Dr. Chow. Dr. Michael Brown from UT Southwestern Medical Center will introduce Kim Orth. And Dr. James Truchard from National Instruments will introduce Duncan Hudson and David Fuller.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure and honor to be able to introduce Peggy. I first became aware of her work when her postdoctoral mentor, Richard Mulligan, was presenting a talk about isolating bone marrow stem cells, and he had presented a new strategy that was very helpful in this regard, and I didn't know at the time, but it turned out this was Peggy's work. My next involvement with her is I got a chance to chair a search for a new head of the cell and gene therapy program at Baylor, and we ended up recruiting Malcolm Brenner, who then turned around recruiting Peggy Godell from MIT and Harvard, where she had been in the Mulligan lab. You already heard that she spent time at the Imperial College and in Cambridge before coming to Houston. My only disappointment in her coming to Houston was that her primary appointment was not in genetics, but in pediatrics. And Ralph Feigen, the late Ralph Feigen, a previous member of this organization, and then chair of pediatrics and the president of Baylor College of Medicine, used his sway to have her have a primary appointment in pediatrics. Quickly upon Peggy's arrival, it became clear that she was very energetic, very collegial, and was making lots of friends and making lots of good input into other people's science. And she was heavily involved in stem cells before stem cells were cool, really. And I think you heard a bit in the video that her work was very rigorous, and at times when some of the stem cell claims were inaccurate or exaggerated, she set the record straight. Maybe more importantly, she really became a loyal member of our institution and our environment, and I guess in this setting of our state. As you heard, she heads up a program now in stem cells and regenerative medicine at Baylor, and she's really playing a major role now as a leader in our environment. You'll hear about her science from her directly tomorrow morning. But there's one perspective about this that I thought I would mention. I came to Texas in 1971. I had not lived outside of New England until I had finished my medical school. And I think that there are a lot of people in this room who were born and raised elsewhere, and I don't know what the ratio is. I thought about asking for a show of hands of those of you who were born and raised in Texas or an adjacent state versus those of you who were not born. And I have the thought that those of us who are outsiders may be in the majority. And I must say, I came to Baylor College of Medicine in 1971. It's the only place I've ever been on the faculty. And I think it's been a 90% positive experience. The 10% negative is when we have political leaders and citizens who don't want to teach or believe in evolution. For a geneticist, that's difficult. I thought I'd leave you. I'm not a joke teller, but one person told me a joke one time, which I can't quite get out of my head, which relates to Peggy certainly was not born and raised in Texas, nor was I. And the storyline goes, why is a Yankee like a hemorrhoid? And this was a very Southern gentleman telling me this story back in 1971 or two. He said something, if it comes down and goes back up, everything's fine. If it comes down and stays down, it's a pain in the ass. We're hoping that Peggy will stay down.
All right, I want to thank the committee very much for selecting me for this really enormous honor. It's wonderful to receive it and to see the video and to see the other people receiving it at the same time. It makes me feel even more proud to be among them. I want to take this opportunity to thank a few people. First of all, really I could achieve nothing if I weren't in a fantastic environment. And I realized that even when I interviewed at Baylor, that it had everything to offer a junior faculty member. Both it offered material substance in terms of good lab space and good funding, but there were also a number of colleagues that it had to offer who would help me establish my career and encourage me and review, make comments on my grants and things like that. And so Baylor has just been a fabulous and highly collaborative environment. It's not just Baylor, though. The Texas Medical Center has been great, and I have great colleagues at MD Anderson and at Rice, and it's really the entire environment which I think has really helped cultivate me as a scientist. So I'm very grateful for that. Of course, behind any great environment, there are usually just a small number of individuals that really drive that. And for me, those people are Art Baudet, and I want to thank him very much. And even though I wasn't a primary in his department, I've always treated the department as my primary intellectual home, and my best colleagues are in the department, and I think he's treated me as a primary member of his department, so it's been a wonderful relationship. I was recruited by Malcolm Brenner, and he has been a fantastic, absolutely fantastic mentor and created what I think is probably one of the best translational research environments in the country, certainly, if not in the world. And it's really helped drive my research from the basic to be more translational. There are a number of other people, and not least of which is Huda Zogby, who's also here, who's been a great mentor, encourager, champion, and somebody just to admire. And so I want to thank her because she contributes to the Baylor environment in many, many ways. Of course, there are many other people. I think that it takes the leaders to create that environment, but there are people who have been helpful, from the people who change the cages in the mouse facility to the technicians in the lab and everything, who make a great environment. So I've been very fortunate. And last but not least, I'm also fortunate. I have 3 young children from 6 to 8 and 10. And it's not an easy life, as you can imagine. It's a bit chaotic at home. And I could not do everything I do, traveling, staying late, writing grants at 2 o'clock in the morning, all of this, without a fantastic husband and partner. So thank you. Sorry. So my husband is not a scientist, which I think is fortunate. And his name is Will Trout, and he's been able to join me here, so thank you very much.
Well, good evening. I'm Ron Elsenbaumer. I'm Vice President for Research at the University of Texas at Arlington. And I think you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from Texas, but I guess we got here as quickly as possible, as everyone says. But tonight, it's my honor, on behalf of our president, Jim Spaniello, and our provost, Don Bobbitt, to introduce to you our awardee, Dr. J.C. Chow, Professor of Electrical Engineering, and the recipient of the 2011 TAMEST Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Engineering. J.C., as he's known on our campus, is a very creative scientist and innovative engineer. You know, and on top of that, he's a wonderful faculty member. As you saw in the videos, discoveries he's made and the medical devices that he's built are designed to diagnose and help treat many diseases. And you saw a few examples of those illustrated. What you may not have seen are some of the other things that he's doing and the other devices that he's developing. In particular, he's working on new and novel devices for monitoring wound healing. And he's even working on devices to help determine and monitor food freshness and determine whether or not food is safe to eat. Now, JC hasn't made these discoveries alone, okay? He's a highly collaborative person, and he works with scientists and engineers across departments and across colleges. He especially works well with surgeons and physicians at several medical schools, and in particular, he's built very close collaborative relationships with individuals at UT Southwestern Medical School in Dallas and also at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Now, aside from being an innovative researcher, JC is really a terrific mentor. As you saw in the video, he's training some of the brightest young minds in Texas. He's currently supervising 16 PhD students and a variety of master's students across many disciplines, including electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, bioengineering, nanotechnology, and medicine. He's a terrific role model for our up-and-coming next generation bioengineers. His work has been supported by many agencies, in particular by NSF, NASA, and the Army Research Office, just to name a few. JC is also prolific in sharing his discoveries and his developments with others. He has more than 150 publications, and he's made numerous presentations at conferences and symposia around the world. In the last 4 years alone, he's had 4 patents issued to him, and he has 9 more pending in the patent office. I think it's needless to say at UT Arlington, we're very proud of JC's accomplishments. He truly epitomizes the type of faculty member that UT Arlington has attracted over the last several years and continues to attract to our campus. These are individuals that not only are capable of making important discoveries, but they're also able to transform those discoveries into useful technologies for helping to create better health, wealth, and prosperity for the citizens of Texas. We commend the selection committee for recognizing JC's accomplishments by awarding him the 2011 TAMEST Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Engineering. JC, will you please come up to the stage and receive your award?
Thank you, Ron. And when Ron was talking, I keep thinking, that camera really at 20 pounds on you. I have to tell my mom, that, okay, I'm going on diet. I'm very humble with this honor. I can literally think there are more than 100 engineers in Texas deserve this award better than me. So I thank the committees give me this moment. I consider myself a very lucky person. I have a family who love me. My parents sacrificed for me, believe in me. I have a good friend here, my best friend. We have go through life up and down, and we share this happy moment. I have a job, and I get paid to explore unknown and create crazy idea. I think that's a very cool job. Plus, I have colleagues who are very friendly and collaborative. Our staff are superb and supportive. I have very hardworking students. They deserve all the credit for research. And I have many wonderful collaborators. I won't mention their name here because we'll stay here all night. I will mention their name tomorrow in my presentation. They are the true experts guiding my research. On top of that, I feel very lucky that I come to join UT Arlington 8 years ago. Particularly, I want to thank President Spaniolo, Provost Babbitt, and Dr. Eisenbaumer, College Engineering Dean Carroll, and my electrical engineering chair, Dr. Bredo, they create a wonderful working environment for me to enjoy. 11 years ago, I came to Dallas, I came to Texas, unexpected. It was Texas' warm friendship and a wonderful cowboy spirit keep me here, where I call home now. And thank y'all for this.
I'm Michael Brown from the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, and it's my great honor tonight to present to you the winner of the 2011 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Science. The winner is Kim Orth from our faculty. I've known Kim for many years, more than we'd like to mention. As a gentleman, but the fact, but she was a baby then. And I've watched her grow and bloom and blossom into a world-class scientist. Kim studies infectious disease, which I think is appropriate because she has an infectious personality. She infects everyone around her with her sense of enthusiasm and excitement for science. Just this afternoon, she cornered me in the lobby here and just bent my ear with her most recent discovery, and with this incredible excitement and enthusiasm that I think only that great scientists really share. And in studying infectious diseases, she has learned about how certain bacteria poison the cells of the body and prevent the cells of the body from rejecting the bacteria. And they do this by injecting certain proteins into the cells of the host that basically paralyze the host's cells. And what Kim has discovered is that the proteins that are injected by the bacteria into our cells, those proteins, some of them are enzymes. And what they do is they catalyze reactions in which they modify our own proteins. So you could have a Vibrio organism, or a Yersinia, the organism that causes bubonic plague, and the way they protect themselves, whether these bacteria protect themselves, is to inject enzymes into cells, and the enzymes change the structure of our own proteins. We used to think that proteins were very simple. They were basically a sequence of amino acids determined by the genetic code. But what we've learned over the past several decades is that the basic amino acid structure of the proteins can be modified by chemicals that are attached to these amino acids. And Kim has actually discovered 2 novel modifications of amino acids that are produced by these bacterial enzymes that are injected into cells. And let me tell you how unique that is. I mean, a Nobel Prize went to the people who discovered 1 modification of enzymes, the addition of phosphate. Kim has discovered 2. You know, most of us biochemists would be happy, delighted, to discover 1 novel modification of a protein. But Kim, at her young age, has discovered already 2 of these. She is an absolutely outstanding scientist who's taught us a great deal about how invading organisms paralyze the cells that are supposed to destroy them. She has infected all of us with her love of science, her incredible enthusiasm, and her ability to create excitement in everyone who surrounds her. She's here tonight with her beautiful young daughter, Samantha, and I would like to present to you Dr. Kim Orth.
Okay. I have notes. So I'm really humbled by receiving this award. It's absolutely fantastic, and to be here at TAMEST to receive this award is really amazing. So I want to thank a lot of people for this, and actually some of what I was going to say has already been shown on the film, and Mike has explained. But I really first want to thank all my mentors. And the first mentor that really changed my life was Dr. Jim Wild. I think some of you might know him. He's from Texas A&M in biochemistry, and he introduced me to biochemistry, and I just fell in love with it. I was a psych major, and then biochemistry was my life, you know. And then I went off, and I have a long career in science, so I have a lot of mentors when I was a technician, and then I was a graduate student, and then I was a postdoc. And then actually I was called back to UT Southwestern to be a faculty member at UT Southwestern, and I have a lot of people that I really appreciate that have supported my science, including my chair, who you saw on the film, Eric Olson, and many other people there. And I think actually now hearing a lot about Texas, I think that UT Southwestern is very unique, but there are a lot of other places in Texas that are like this. And that's that the people that lead UT Southwestern, and you know, including the president Kern, the former president Kern, and the current one Podolsky, and you know, the chairs Steve McKnight and other chairs, and the Nobel laureates, who actually I've been around for a really long time. He doesn't want to admit. He's actually on my graduate committee. So you know, Mike and Joe and Al and Hans, they've done this amazing thing at UT Southwestern, and that's that when you're hired there, you're considered an investment, and they don't want to lose on their investments. They really, really help you to succeed as best they can, and they created this environment that is so collaborative and so friendly, and actually many of my friends here are very successful scientists themselves, and by creating that type of environment, you have a great chance of being successful, and they recruit great students. Actually, all the discoveries that Mike had alluded to, in addition to one other, were all performed by students. And they get an amazing group of students there, and they work really well together, and they do really creative work. And so I really appreciate the environment that I'm in, and I attribute a lot of my success to being at UT Southwestern. The other people that I want to acknowledge, including my friends or my family, who couldn't be here. My son's doing the saxophone, so he's off with my husband. But my daughter Sam is the member of my family that came and helped me celebrate this award today, and I really appreciate that she came along and lasted through quite a few sessions today. So she's 12, so she's a 7th grader, and she's doing great. And so the other thing that I want to mention about Sam is that I think she represents the future for new discoveries, and I think that's something that's really important for everyone to remember in the room. I mean, I'm here because our culture supported basic science, but in order for her generation and generations beyond her to make these kind of discoveries, we have to continue to support this system so that basic science discoveries can be made. It's extremely important because if you stop supporting that system, you're going to have a lag for as long as you didn't support it, and that may be her generation or the next. And so I'm really appreciative of groups like TAMEST and donors for TAMEST and the O'Donnell family that basically have the insight to support basic research and know that you're not going to get the payoff tomorrow, but it's something you're investing in, and maybe in a decade it's going to pay off orders of magnitude greater in discoveries that Sam's generation or the next generation might make. So I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a great pleasure and honor to recognize two outstanding technical leaders, David Fuller and Duncan Hudson, for their work in development of our flagship product, LabVIEW. LabVIEW was originally invented by Jeff Kodowski and colleagues some quarter of a century ago, and now literally hundreds of thousands of scientists and engineers are more productive, 10 times more productive than they could be otherwise. So while we've heard of many inventions and discoveries of scientists and engineers at this conference, productivity tools can only help make those discoveries and inventions come faster. So that's what LabVIEW is intending to do. When LabVIEW was invented, it was years ahead of the academic research in the area of this kind of a productivity tool. And David and Duncan have continued to drive the vision of LabVIEW to make it more functional, more capability to solve a wider range of products, extending first from systems for test and measurement applications to now implementing industrial embedded systems from medicine, technology, and all fields of engineering and the like. So they've continued to drive the vision forward. Today we heard Yale Pat talk about the challenge of the interface between the human and the computer. LabVIEW is an attempt to considerably reduce the artificial complexity associated with that. And David and Duncan are carrying it to the next level, all the way from working to make it a children's toy in Lego Mindstorms, and we do for 7-year-olds, to solving some of the toughest and hardest problems on the planet, where traditional tools are falling short of these very, very hard problems. In each case, the idea that a simpler representation to interface the computer. This applies also to things like FPGAs, which traditionally domain experts aren't able to program and require specialists in LabVIEW, in FPGA programming to do, can now be done. This opens up a lot of new opportunities for very high performance, very high speed technology to solve an ever larger number of technical applications. Duncan and David offered a unique combination of strong leadership and technical expertise that's so valued in these roles. One of them is a graduate of the University of Texas, one is a graduate from A&M, so we're representing the top-tier public universities here in their roles. And they're providing an example as role models to help us be one of Fortune 100 best companies to work for. There aren't many of these left. It's a very big challenge to have that ability to create a good technical job and still be a great place to work in a great business. We've worked hard to formalize the way we do innovation. We've heard a lot at this conference, and I think innovation is a very, very good topic to be talking about. To formalize the way we do innovation, and we're driving very hard to keep at the state of the art and beyond. One of the ways we're doing that is with our Vision to Architecture group that meets weekly to look at some of the hardest and most challenging problems. We want to take our vision to make scientists, engineers productive and carry it to very functional, workable products. And these two gentlemen, David and Duncan, are leading this effort to drive this activity to make certain we can be providing the best possible tools with the best functionality to to translate our vision into actionable development plans with the skill and sophistication to do this, so that we can create ever more productive products for our customers. So welcome David and Duncan to receive the award.
First, I'd like to say thank you, truly, to the Academy and the Selection Committee for this honor. It's truly a special moment to me. Before I get into the science and technology, which is near and dear to my heart, I have a few other people to thank. First, to my wife, Nancy, who couldn't be here tonight due to bronchitis, unfortunately. She's been my greatest friend, support, and advocate throughout my entire career. I couldn't have done this without her. Second, to my mother, who could be here tonight, who not only gave me life, but through her actions showed me the right way to live it. I can't thank you enough. Now, to science and technology. I also thank the University of Texas at Austin, which gave me 9 years of, in retrospect, priceless education that enabled me to do what I've done to date. To National Instruments, which has given me a fruitful, rewarding, enjoyable, productive career where I feel I've truly been able to make a difference in an area, science and engineering, that I'm passionate about. Specifically to James Truchard and Jeff Kodosky, who've provided me mentorship in growing both technically and as a leader within the company. I don't think I could have better role models to ask for. And also, to my research associates, there are hundreds of people that I've worked with at National Instruments who, without their help, all I would have is some cool ideas and nothing that could actually make a difference to any of you or the other scientists and engineers in the world. Their help, their research, the work that they have produced alongside me and on their own has been invaluable, and I also couldn't have done it without them. One last thing I'll leave you with. As I mentioned, our goal is to make a difference in the productivity of scientists and engineers. We don't do the thing, we help you do the thing. So, if you're involved in science and engineering, and I'm guessing there might be a few of you who are, and that science and engineering involves measuring and automating, stimulating the world around you, or creating embedded applications that control and measure things, and we haven't helped you yet, I invite you to give me an earful. Duncan.hudson@ni.com. Feel free. And I'll leave it to Dave whether he wants to give you his email address too. Thank you very much.
I guess I'd like to echo the sentiment of the rest of the people that have got awards tonight. It's truly a humbling experience, and a little bit, I'd even go further than humbling and say at times it's a little embarrassing to explain to people that you've got this award, and I consider it a tremendous honor. I think several of us have had the theme of the environment, and I really think it's the duty and responsibility of everyone here. I've certainly learned from my mentors and the people that have created an environment for me that it starts with an environment that allows for fostering innovation and creativity. And that environment is predicated on a deep foundation of very good, open, honest, intelligent people who are working together to create things. And I think it's the environment that's the foundation for innovation. And so I guess I'd like to start my thanks to this group that creates an environment that honors and cultivates interest in science, technology, and intellect that will help society. I think it starts there. And then I'd like also to next go to, I've only worked at National Instruments. Before that, my only other job was as a construction worker, which my dad made me take so that I would appreciate going to college. So it worked beautifully. I encourage you to do that. Dr. James Touchard and Jeff Kadowski have created a corporation in National Instruments that I will never leave. I've been there for 16 years, and I consider it to be a great place full of great people that are super intelligent and are trying to make the world a better place. The second part of environment, I guess the third people I'd like to thank is my parents. I think the basic lesson I got from them, and it came in the Boy Scouts and other things, is to do my best. I wouldn't be here without them. And then the final person I'd like to thank is my wife, Allison. I'd like to apologize for having to live with a somewhat scatterbrained computer scientist. I hope you can put up with me. So thank you.
Well, I certainly hope that you've been inspired as much as I have today from our tremendous keynote speakers with Rex Tillerson and Rich Templeton, our tremendous panelists and other speakers who have been really emphasizing the importance of innovation and the great innovations that have and are occurring in Texas, the past, the present, and the future. And then to be highlighted tonight by being able to recognize these incredible recipients of the Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards. I don't know about you, but my heart is full of pride. I am so proud to be in Texas where this great work is happening, and I am so inspired about the future that is incumbent upon us. So with that, this evening comes to close. There will be cocktails, I think, that will continue in the reception forum. But thank you very much for making this day a very special day for our speakers, our panelists, and our awardees. Good night.